Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, listen to me carefully. There are two kinds of people in this world: those who try to control everything and those who know who is in control. The question today is, which one are you? Have you ever held on to something so tightly, thinking if you just worked a little harder, stressed a little more, maybe, just maybe, you could fix it? Your job, your health, your family, your future. You're gripping it so tightly, but what if I told you the tighter you hold, the more you lose? Because hear me loud and clear. Life is too big for your hands, but it is the perfect size for God's hands. When we examine our lives, we realize that much of our stress, worry, and anxiety come from our attempts to manage, control, and direct everything around us. We believe that if we can just think harder, plan better, and push further, we can shape our destiny according to our own desires. However, there comes a moment when we must confront a profound truth. Our hands are limited, but God's hands are unlimited. The human tendency to take control is deeply rooted in the belief that our understanding, our wisdom, and our efforts are sufficient to determine the outcomes of our lives. We convince ourselves that if we plan well enough, work hard enough, and make the right decisions, everything will fall into place. But this mindset leads to an exhausting cycle of striving without peace. We try to manage relationships, finances, career paths, health, and even the future itself, believing that our hands have the power to keep everything in order. However, this is an illusion, because human hands, no matter how strong, can never hold what was designed to be in God's hands. To leave everything in God's hands means embracing a position of trust rather than control. Trust requires faith, and faith demands surrender. When we truly recognize the nature of God, His omniscience, His omnipotence, and His divine plan, we begin to realize that our greatest strength is not in holding on, but in letting go. This does not mean we abandon responsibility or effort, but rather that we shift our confidence from our own abilities to His divine will. The act of surrendering to God's hands is not a passive resignation, but an active decision to believe that He knows what is best, even when circumstances seem uncertain. It is choosing to rest in the knowledge that His wisdom far surpasses ours, and that He is able to accomplish what we never could on our own. This requires humility, as it challenges the pride that tells us we must always be in charge. It requires patience, as God's timing does not always align with our expectations. And most importantly, it requires a deep-rooted faith that even when we cannot see the outcome, His plan is always for our ultimate good. One of the greatest struggles in leaving things in God's hands is the fear of the unknown. We often hesitate to trust because we cannot see the full picture, and uncertainty makes us anxious. We want guarantees, clear directions, and immediate answers. But faith operates differently. It moves forward without seeing, believes without proof, and trusts without guarantees. True faith is tested in the moments when we feel the urge to take back control, but instead we choose to rest in the confidence that God is already working behind the scenes. The beauty of surrendering to God's hands is that it brings peace beyond human understanding. Anxiety diminishes when we realize that we are not the ones responsible for orchestrating every detail of our lives. Stress loses its grip when we acknowledge that our future is already secured in His plan. When we release control, we make room for divine intervention. allowing God to work in ways that go beyond our imagination. Furthermore, trusting in God's hands allows us to experience a life free from the constant burden of self-reliance. We often live under the weight of expectations, both from ourselves and from others, believing that we must have all the answers and bear all the responsibilities. But when we shift that weight onto God, we step into a new dimension of spiritual freedom. We stop striving, we stop worrying, and we start living with the assurance that He is in control. Leaving everything in God's hands also aligns us with His divine purpose. When we try to control every aspect of our lives, we often move according to our own limited perspective. We make decisions based on immediate concerns rather than eternal wisdom. But when we submit to God, we open ourselves to His higher ways, which are always greater than our own. His plans are never random. They are carefully designed to shape us, grow us, and lead us into a destiny far greater than what we could construct for ourselves. There is also a deeper level of relationship with God that is unlocked when we fully trust Him. Surrendering control is an act of intimacy, demonstrating that we truly believe in His love and goodness. It is one thing to acknowledge God with our words, but it is another thing to trust Him with our lives. When we place everything in His hands, we develop a deeper dependence on Him, which strengthens our faith and draws us closer to Him. Ultimately, the question is not whether God is capable, but whether we are willing to trust Him. His hands have always been strong enough to hold our lives, but He waits for us to let go of our own grip and place everything in His care. This is the invitation, to trade our limited strength for His unlimited power, to exchange our worries for His peace, and to move from control to confidence in His divine plan. When we choose to leave everything in God's hands, we step into a life of faith, peace, and purpose that can never be achieved through human effort alone. Fear and faith operate in opposite directions. One pulls us away from trust, while the other draws us closer to divine certainty. Fear is a response to uncertainty, to the unknown, to the possibility of loss or failure. It grips the heart, clouds judgment, and makes one doubt even what is already secured. It is the voice that whispers, "What if it doesn't work out? What if things get worse? What if I am not enough?" Fear magnifies problems, distorts reality, and drains the soul of peace. It convinces us that we must be in control at all times, because to let go means to risk everything. Faith, however, stands in direct opposition to fear. Where fear creates anxiety, faith produces peace. Where fear limits, faith expands. Faith is the conviction that even when the outcome is unknown, there is a divine assurance that all things are under control. Faith does not demand to see the full picture before taking the next step. It simply moves forward, trusting that the unseen hand of God is guiding the way. It does not ask for guarantees, nor does it require immediate answers. Instead, faith rests in the belief that what is unseen is just as real as what is visible. The struggle between faith and fear is an internal battle that every person faces. Fear often disguises itself as wisdom, convincing the mind that hesitation is caution and that doubt is simply being realistic. It thrives in an environment of uncertainty, making problems appear larger than they are, while reducing confidence in what is already known to be true. The mind becomes a battlefield where voices of doubt, insecurity, and worst-case scenarios fight against the quiet yet powerful assurance. When fear dominates, decisions are driven by insecurity rather than trust. It causes hesitation where boldness is needed, confusion where clarity has already been given. It places a weight on the shoulders, making every step feel like an exhausting effort. It traps the heart in cycles of overthinking, replaying past failures and anticipating future troubles, leaving little room for the peace that faith brings. Faith, on the other hand, provides a different perspective. It lifts the heart above temporary circumstances and aligns it with a greater reality. It does not ignore difficulties, but chooses to see beyond them. Faith does not deny that challenges exist, but it refuses to be ruled by them. It understands that what is seen is temporary, while what is unseen holds eternal value. Faith is not about blind optimism. It is about unwavering confidence in something greater than human strength. The transition from fear to faith requires a deliberate choice. Fear may come naturally, but faith must be cultivated. It requires the discipline to shift focus from problems to promises, from uncertainty to assurance. It is a mindset, a spiritual posture that chooses to believe even when emotions suggest otherwise. It is deciding every single day that trust is greater than doubt, that peace is more powerful than worry, and that divine guidance is more certain than human reasoning. Fear often paralyzes, preventing movement, keeping one stuck in hesitation. Faith propels forward, encouraging action even when the path ahead is unclear. Faith gives the ability to stand firm in the face of adversity, to hold on to hope when everything else seems to suggest otherwise. It strengthens resolve, keeps the mind at peace, and ensures that decisions are made from a place of confidence rather than anxiety. The presence of faith does not mean the absence of challenges, but it does mean the absence of defeat. Faith does not guarantee that difficulties will disappear, but it ensures that difficulties will not have the final say. It creates an unshakable foundation that remains firm even in the strongest storms. It removes the need for constant worry, because it rests in the certainty that nothing is beyond divine control. Choosing faith over fear is an ongoing process, a daily renewal of trust in what is unseen rather than in what is temporarily overwhelming. It requires persistence, a continual shift in focus, and a refusal to be led by emotions. Fear may still attempt to arise, but faith reminds the heart that it is not fear that dictates the future, it is trust in the divine. In the end, fear and faith cannot occupy the same space. One must give way to the other. The choice is always before us: to live in the limitations of fear or to step into the boundless possibilities of faith. The decision to trust, to release control, and to move forward with confidence is not just a momentary act, but a lifelong journey. Those who choose faith will find strength they never knew they had, peace that cannot be explained, and a path that leads to fulfillment beyond anything fear could ever allow. Human nature is inclined toward impatience, always seeking immediate results and quick resolutions. The mind craves certainty, desiring to know what lies ahead, when things will unfold, and how long it will take for prayers to be answered. There is a tendency to measure time based on personal expectations, believing that things should happen according to one's own schedule. When events do not progress as anticipated, frustration arises, and doubt begins to creep in. The perception of delay often leads to discouragement, causing one to question whether things will ever fall into place. Yet, there is a higher order at work, a divine timeline that does not operate according to human urgency. Every moment, every event, and every unfolding circumstance is part of a greater plan that is beyond immediate comprehension. What appears to be a delay is often a preparation. What seems like an unanswered request is often a process of alignment. The human tendency is to focus on the waiting, But the greater truth lies in understanding that timing is orchestrated with purpose. Nothing happens too soon or too late. Everything arrives at the appointed time. Patience is difficult when the outcome is unknown. The mind seeks closure, a resolution that can provide peace of mind. However, real peace does not come from knowing the exact timing. It comes from trusting that the timing is in perfect hands. There is an assurance that even when things seem to be at a standstill, they are actually in motion according to a plan that is flawless. Waiting is not a sign of neglect. It is often an indication of careful preparation. The process of waiting tests character, refines patience, and strengthens trust. It teaches the value of surrendering control, of recognizing that personal timing is often limited by short-term thinking. There is a deeper wisdom at work, ensuring that everything falls into place at the right moment. Rushing ahead can lead to unnecessary struggles, while waiting allows things to unfold in a way that brings lasting fulfillment. The heart may desire immediate answers, but the soul finds greater growth in the process of learning to trust. An essential aspect of divine timing is understanding that preparation is as important as the outcome. Many times, what is perceived as a delay is actually a time of development, equipping one with the wisdom, strength, and readiness needed to handle what is coming. If something arrives too soon, it may not be fully appreciated or even sustainable. Growth takes time, and the process of waiting is often where the greatest transformation occurs. The journey is just as important as the destination. Trusting the timing requires a mindset shift. Instead of focusing on what has not yet happened, the attention must be placed on what is being developed in the present moment. Every season has a purpose, whether it is a time of growth, learning, or resting. The key is to embrace each phase with confidence, knowing that nothing is wasted. Even the moments that feel slow or unproductive are contributing to a greater purpose. When trust is fully placed in divine timing, there is a release from anxiety and frustration. The need to force things to happen diminishes, and a sense of peace takes its place. This does not mean passively waiting without action, but rather moving forward with the understanding that everything will align as it should. Actions taken in alignment with divine timing are far more effective than efforts made out of impatience. When things happen at the right time, they flow with ease, without unnecessary resistance. There is a sense of freedom in knowing that there is no need to strive endlessly for things that are already being arranged. The burden of trying to control outcomes is lifted, replaced by an assurance that everything is unfolding as it should. There is no need to compare timelines with others, because each journey is uniquely designed. What is meant to happen will happen, and it will happen in a way that brings the greatest fulfillment. Ultimately, trusting divine timing means recognizing that there is wisdom beyond what can be immediately seen. The moments of waiting are not wasted. They are filled with purpose. The journey is being guided with precision, and every delay is intentional. When the right time arrives, things will fall into place effortlessly, and it will be evident that the waiting was not in vain. The key is to remain patient, to trust the process, and to know that everything is working together in perfect alignment. The human mind is conditioned to seek control, to plan, to organize, and to structure life in a way that feels safe and predictable. There is a deep-seated desire to map out the future, to anticipate every outcome, and to ensure that nothing falls apart. The thought of surrendering control feels unsettling because it challenges the belief that security comes from careful planning and precise execution. Yet, the more one tries to control every aspect of life, the more exhausting the journey becomes. The weight of expectations, the burden of uncertainty, and the pressure to ensure everything aligns perfectly create an overwhelming cycle of stress. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means recognizing the limitations of personal strength and understanding that there is a greater power at work. It is a shift from striving to trusting, from overthinking to resting in assurance. The greatest breakthroughs often come not when one is gripping tightly onto control, but when there is a release, an acceptance that not everything needs to be managed with human effort alone. There is a divine order beyond human comprehension, a plan unfolding with precision, and a wisdom that sees far beyond what is visible in the present moment. Fear is one of the biggest obstacles to letting go. It creates the illusion that without personal intervention, things will fall apart. The mind fixates on worst-case scenarios, replaying every possible failure and convincing itself that letting go is a risk too great to take. But holding on too tightly does not create security, it only increases stress. The paradox of surrender is that in releasing control, greater peace is found. When the need to control every detail is laid down, an unexpected freedom emerges. The freedom to live without the constant weight of fear and uncertainty. Trust is the foundation of letting go. It is the confidence that even when things seem uncertain, they are still under divine guidance. Trust does not require full understanding. It requires faith in the unseen. It is a conscious decision to believe that even when things do not go as planned, they are still unfolding according to a higher purpose. This trust brings a level of peace that cannot be found in external circumstances. It allows one to move forward with assurance, knowing that there is a divine presence working beyond human effort. Letting go also means releasing the need to control outcomes. Many times, frustration and disappointment come not from what happens, but from the expectation of how things should happen. There is an internal script that dictates how life should unfold, and when reality does not align with that script, frustration sets in. But the truth is, the best outcomes often arise when rigid expectations are surrendered, allowing room for something greater to take place. When the need to control is replaced with trust, there is an openness to possibilities that were never previously considered. Another aspect of letting go is releasing the past. The weight of past failures, regrets, and mistakes can keep one bound, preventing growth and progress. There is a tendency to replay past events, to analyze what went wrong, and to carry guilt or resentment. But clinging to the past does not change it. It only prolongs its impact. True freedom comes when the past is released, when lessons are learned, and when the focus shifts to the present and the future. Letting go of what no longer serves a purpose allows space for new opportunities, healing, and transformation. Letting go also applies to people. There are relationships that were once essential but are no longer aligned with the direction of growth. There are situations that once felt necessary but are now hindrances. The ability to release what no longer fits is crucial in moving forward. Holding on to what is no longer meant to be only creates resistance. But when there is a willingness to let go, life begins to flow in the way it was always meant to. There is a deep sense of peace that comes with surrender. It is not a passive act, but an intentional choice to trust, to release, and to allow life to unfold without unnecessary resistance. It does not mean abandoning responsibility, but rather shifting from a mindset of control to a mindset of faith. It is recognizing that not everything needs to be managed, that not every answer needs to be known immediately, and that the best outcomes often come when there is a willingness to release control. In the end, letting go is about embracing freedom. It is stepping away from the exhausting cycle of control and stepping into the peace of trust. It is choosing to believe that even when things seem uncertain, they are still aligned with a greater purpose. It is understanding that security is not found in controlling every detail, but in knowing that everything is being guided with divine wisdom. When control is released, life becomes lighter, peace becomes deeper, and the path ahead becomes clearer. There is a deep longing within every human heart for certainty, for stability, for the assurance that everything will work out in the end. The mind seeks answers, constantly trying to make sense of situations, questioning the unknown, and attempting to predict the future. There is a desire to see every step ahead, to understand the full picture, and to ensure that nothing unexpected disrupts the carefully laid out plans. However, the reality of life is that not everything can be known in advance. There will always be moments of uncertainty, seasons of waiting, and situations where clarity seems just out of reach. True peace is not found in having all the answers, but in learning to rest in divine wisdom. It is the understanding that even when the path is unclear, it is still guided by a higher plan. It is the ability to walk forward without fear, knowing that there is a purpose in every step, even when the destination is not fully visible. This peace does not come from external circumstances, nor is it dependent on things going exactly as expected. It is an internal assurance, a quiet confidence that remains steady despite the uncertainties of life. The human mind is limited in its understanding. It can only see what is directly in front of it, while divine wisdom sees beyond time and space. There is a plan unfolding, a purpose being woven into every moment, even those that seem confusing or difficult. Many times, what appears to be a setback is actually a setup for something greater. What seems like an obstacle may be a redirection towards something far better. But without trust, the mind becomes restless, constantly trying to figure out what cannot yet be known. Resting in divine wisdom requires surrender. It means acknowledging that there are things beyond human comprehension and choosing to trust instead of worry. It is the decision to let go of the need to control every detail and instead embrace the journey with faith. This does not mean passivity or inaction, but rather moving forward with a heart that is at peace, knowing that each step is ordered, each delay has meaning, and each moment is part of a divine orchestra. Worry is the greatest thief of peace. It takes the mind away from the present and traps it in an endless cycle of what ifs. It magnifies problems, creating stress over things that have not yet happened and may never happen. Worry convinces the heart that rest is not possible until everything is certain. But certainty is never fully attainable in the human experience. The truth is, peace is not the absence of uncertainty. It is the ability to remain calm and confident even in the midst of it. Patience is a key component of resting in wisdom. There is a tendency to rush, to demand answers immediately, and to grow frustrated when things do not move at the desired pace. But divine wisdom operates beyond human timing. There are lessons to be learned in the waiting, growth to be developed in the unknown. When there is an acceptance of this process, impatience is replaced with peace. The need to force outcomes disappears, and a quiet trust takes its place, allowing everything to unfold naturally at the right time. Another aspect of resting in wisdom is the ability to release burdens. Many carry unnecessary weights, concerns about the future, fears about the past, anxieties about things that are not within their control. These burdens drain energy, steal joy, and prevent a sense of fulfillment. But when there is trust, these burdens become lighter. There is no need to carry what has already been taken care of. There is no reason to hold on to stress when the path is already guided. Letting go of these unnecessary burdens creates space for peace, for joy, and for a deeper connection to the present moment. Resting in divine wisdom also allows for gratitude. Instead of focusing on what is missing or what is uncertain, attention shifts to what is already present. There is appreciation for each step, for each lesson, for each moment of clarity that comes when it is needed most. Gratitude replaces worry, and joy takes the place of fear. This shift in perspective transforms the way life is experienced, bringing a deeper sense of contentment. And true rest is found in trusting that everything is already aligned. There is no need to stress over what is unknown, because nothing is truly unknown to divine wisdom. There is no need to fear the future when it is already held in perfect hands. The mind may seek control, but the soul finds peace in surrender. The heart may crave certainty, but true confidence comes from knowing that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. When this realization takes root, peace is no longer a fleeting emotion. It becomes a way of life.